Welcome to the week nine spreads. We're really rattling through the weeks these days, Mike. Seems like the games are coming thick and fast. And I'm pleased to report I had a good week last week, 75%. You're a bit down, 43, but
Oh,
still at 53 on the year. So still making a
yeah.
profit. But
It's a downward trend. It's a slow downward trend.
slow
Uh,
downward trend, though. Yeah.
yeah, and we got off to a another poor start this week, didn't we?
Oh, yes. I mean, we had to take the Texans. I mean, you can't put money on the Jets, but we've been fooled a few times now on these Thursday night spreads. They never go the way we think.
No.
And it just shows you really shouldn't be putting money on the Thursday game because, as I said to you on text, this is one of the worst games I've ever watched. It was dreadful.
Yeah, and yeah, I know I said to you via text, absolutely get some money on this. Could understand you wanting to bet on it.
Yeah.
Um, the Jets only putting up 293 total yards of offense, but that seemingly was enough to sink
Yeah.
the newly woebegone Texans with a couple of injuries on the offensive side now. So they might be
Mm.
having some air coming out of their tires, it appears, until they can get Collins back fit again. I don't think Diggs is too much of a loss, to be honest. They'll just go back to a lot of 12, 13 personnel and get Collins and Tank Dell out there. They'll be fine long term, but just in a bit of a sticky patch at the moment, which I didn't foresee that having the kind of effect that it had though. And yeah, we
Mm.
both took the Texans. We should probably just say that. People probably could have guessed that from how we're talking about it. So off to an
Well,
0 and 1, 0 and 1 start this week. Um, so we'll try and redeem ourselves with some of these other ones. I
oof.
think
Oh, your turn to pick first.
yeah, I was going to say you went first last week, didn't you? So this is a slightly sticky one potentially. They've gone back to hiding the spread down here under all the stats, which is annoying. They've got this an even -3 here. I don't know if you can salvage a point 3, point 5 from anywhere. Sorry. No.
No, I've
So
had it three all week. It has not moved.
yeah, so we're potentially washing our faces here. Oh goodness. The Cowboys lost, as I anticipated they would, to the 49ers in that primetime game last week. Um, God, you normally think you get a bit of a battering on the road at San Francisco. It's quite a physical game. And now you've got to go on the road again to Atlanta, who are, for what have they won, three in a row here?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough outing, tough schedule for the Cowboys, actually. I'm not normally one to sympathize with the Dallas Cowboys, but they have had a tough
Mm.
run here. Um, Goodness. I'm I'm going to take the Falcons here just because don't feel good about it, but the defense is playing well for the Falcons. Kirk Cousin looks a bit better. They are able to get him under center now, which is a massive
Mm.
improvement. And even though the Cowboys could lick can hang with them here, I just think the defensive issues for the Cowboys are just that appointment of Mike Zimmer at defensive coordinator and then the personnel that they've had injured this year, none of it is boding well for them. So yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to side with you. I've backed them the last few weeks. I've been a bit higher on them than you, I think, and they seem to be doing all right in these spreads, especially when they're favorites. They've covered the last three. I was just looking, so um, yeah, the Falcons continue to surprise in a pretty poor NFC South with the Bucks going a bit off the rails as well. So I think yeah, there's a chance for them to win and stamp their mark on the division, kind of what people thought they might be at the start of the year. So I agree with all the points there. It's a tough out here for the Cowboys yet again.
Yeah, I could see them losing this one, and then as the schedule softens up for them a little bit, maybe ripping off two or three wins in a row, the Cowboys to set up some good matches with the Eagles later in the season. It's normally how the NFC East goes. We never walk it as the Eagles. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
Especially this year, Commanders as well are on fire.
Mm.
Uh, oh well, this works out quite well. Your hometown Cleveland Browns with Jameis is at the wheel. Um, Luckily for
He
them,
got
they're
slimed this week. He got the Nickelodeon slime on him for being the player of the week. So
oh,
the Browns have to take their wins where they can get them, you know.
the joys of the modern NFL, right? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I've had it, Arse.
All right.
What's
Well, it's a
line?
very tight spread. It's 1.5 here in favor of the Chargers. Chargers coming
Yeah,
in as favorites. Not entirely sure that's right. I think it should be the other way around. Um,
interesting.
oh, yeah, this is. I think you just got to back the Browns to keep some momentum going here as home dogs. They might feel a bit slighted by that, and Chubb seems to be doing well. Really, really surprising quick recovery from me. He looks almost back to his former self. He may never
Unbelievable.
get there, but
Well, you just
yeah,
think of the horrific injuries he had in college as well. He's like the
yeah.
Terminator. He's just unkillable, Nick Chubb.
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely look at the under on the point spread on this. This is not going to
Yes.
be more like a 15-12 game here, but I think the Browns just do enough to get this done. And opposing kickers sometimes struggle in this stadium, especially with the weather turning. So I'd look for the Chargers, the famous Chargers special teams gaffes that seem to continue actually under the Harbaugh reign. So I look for some of that to woe them here, and as they lose to the Browns in a close one.
Oh, lovely special teams call out for you there. Yeah, it's probably quite tough to fix the bottom half of the roster in one
Yeah.
off season, which obviously leads to continued special teams woes for them. I'm going to take the Browns as well, even though Justin Herbert is playing really efficient football, and they've given him a bit more leash now to throw it down the field, which is I don't know why you wouldn't start the season like that, but alas.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a matchup thing for me. I think Jim Schwartz will just say 8 men in the box, single high structures, cover three, cover one man, and make Herbert throw it 40 times, which is not obviously how the Chargers want to play football. And it kind of
Yeah.
leans into the Browns' strength as a defense. And then I think Winston, your only concern as a Browns fan, as someone who's backing the Browns on this spread, is that Winston throws 4 interceptions, which is obviously that is his he does have a penchant for that. He might throw 2 touchdowns, but he could throw 4 interceptions. He had a couple of bad picks dropped last week by the Ravens. I don't know if the
Yeah.
Chargers necessarily let him off that this week, but alas,
Yeah.
I'm still going to go with the Browns here and agree with you. It's a very cozy podcast so far. Two agreements.
I know. Yeah, just all friends over here at the
All
moment.
friends, yeah. I know you'd hate that. Raiders at Bengals. God, I
Oof.
was not. The Eagles absolutely dismantled the Bengals last week on
Yeah.
defense. The Bengals look nowhere.
Yeah, this
And
is what I mean, this is why this spread surprises me a little.
yes, yeah, it's a 7 point spread. I should have said that. -7 point favorites here, the Bengals. Um, I'm God. Is Riddick gonna play this week at quarterback for the Raiders? Not Riddick.
Um
Oh, goodness me, I'm slightly
Carr.
hungover. So, yeah. So
Derek
I,
Carr.
well, not
Yeah.
Carr, not Carr, surely.
Oh, sorry. No, what am I on about?
We're both having a nightmare here. Um,
Min
oh, they,
Minshew. Is Minshew
yeah,
there?
but did they signed a lad that played for the Falcons last year? We were high on him coming out of the draft from
Oh,
Cincinnati. I forget his name.
yeah, Riddick.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Regardless, I'm going to take the Raiders here. I mean, I, I, I just I don't believe the Bengals will beat anybody big. The defense is kind of the strength of that Raiders team. The Raiders will be able to put up some points because, as we've discussed, the Bengals' defense is poor. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Raiders here. The Bengals will win, but the Raiders will hang around.
Yeah, I'm not sure the Bengals will win. I'm really unimpressed with them this year. On both sides of the ball, their lines leave a lot to be desired. So I think, as I've said before, I like the Raiders going on the road. I'm going to agree with you and take the cover. The Raiders have already done the Browns and Ravens in the NFC North. They're out looking for more
Okay,
scalps. Um, for whatever reason, they seem to match up well with these teams that want to play physically, which is interesting for the Raiders. So I'm going to take them. Yeah, I think maybe a surprise win here for the Raiders on the road.
nice. Okay. Now this will be a big line, I'm sure. I'm sure the Ravens are heavy favorites here. Uh,
Yes, well, Is
Eight
what
points.
do you
Jeez.
expect that? Because I didn't expect that.
I don't feel that vindicates the gap between the two teams, but I just know how the money is going to go on this one. The general public will just think this is a just hand
Hmm.
it to the Ravens.
Yeah.
Um, and sorry, it's your turn to go first, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, it leaves no introduction really in terms of what I'm going to do here. You know, I'm high on the Broncos this year. This is a bit insulting to them. So this is a Broncos cover, and look out for a surprising win as well. I mean, I think they're very evenly matched, these teams, when the styles of play and in terms of the special teams, kicky and stuff. It's all quite even. And the Ravens have been sloppy this year. You mentioned some of those dropped picks there against the Browns, and that habit of letting teams back into games. So you can't take them to cover eight. This is Denver. As Denver go to seek out their wild card position, as I thought they might. They may even pick up a win here on the road, but certainly cover.
I wouldn't go. I'm going to agree with you, just to be clear.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't go as far. I think the Ravens are still a better football team than the Broncos. I think the Broncos, I've seen a lot of all 22 of their offense purely because there's a lot of coverage of how Nix is getting on in year one.
Yeah.
And that offense is not great, to be honest, at the moment. The defense is playing excellently though, which will keep them in this game, I believe. And the Ravens defense has been very poor. Just you got to call it as it is. It's very unraven like, but it's been dreadful this year for them on defense. So I think it's a close game, but the Ravens pull it out at home, closer than the experts think. Um,
Yeah.
Now we seem to have lost every
No.
other. Seem to have lost the ticket here, which is slightly alarming. So I'll have to do it this way. Um, oh goodness, hang on a second. All right, here we go. It's back. Uh, right.
Yeah. And to the NFC South.
Yeah. Um, Saints at Panthers. Obviously, the Panthers are dreadful. This will be a huge line. Yeah, New Orleans are a 7 point favorite. I've backed the Panthers quite a lot this season. I thought they might be a bit of a out last season Arizona Cardinals copy, really, where they sort of pull off enough performances to still have a bad overall record, but they're in some of these games. But it's just imploded on them. It's completely imploded on them. Like, they don't have anything. This is legitimately for me the worst team in football, and the Saints are slowly getting healthier. I think Carr is back this week, so
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to take the Saints here because that offense, when they've got Carr and Kamara, they can throw and run,
Mm.
and that's just too much for the worst team in football in the Panthers. So yeah, I'm going to take the Saints here, even though it's a big line.
Yeah, I mean, historically, with like these terrible teams, I think of the Browns back in 2016, the Cardinals last year, as you mentioned. They cover these spreads. A lot of them they're given big spreads and they cover them. This Panthers team is maybe the worst we've ever seen. I think, and I mean they can't cover a spread to save their lives. It's one of eight for them so far this year. So I'm going to take the Saints with you. Fortunately, yeah, more agreement across the board from us. But I mean, this is just nonsense. Really, you can never put money on the Panthers, and I'd call
No,
you crazy if you did.
no, I agree. You'd have to extend that out to 14 or something for me to start getting comfortable with it. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a non-starter.
no,
Um, so this is a fun one.
mm, always
Actually,
interesting. Yeah,
yeah. Um, not
big
probably a bet.
spread.
Yeah, probably a better game in Florida normally because that kind of evens the teams up a little bit with the
Yeah,
weather. Going to Buffalo is obviously quite a significant disadvantage for Miami, hence the big line there, Buffalo -6.
yeah. So they covered quite handily against the Seahawks last week, didn't they? The Bill
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that
they
did me that
absolutely
one.
blew out the Titans the week before. I'm just looking at their historical. They've covered the last three. Um,
Yeah, they're in some form here.
yeah, so I think that's quite nice. It sits under a touchdown. So I think I'm going to side with the Bills here. I'm low on the efficiency and the way that offense is running. And I think they just have a little bit too much here for the Dolphins at home. The Dolphins show they don't really like coming to these environments too much. So um, I'd be tempted to, I'm quite tempted to take the Dolphins, but yeah, the Bills, as we said, they've covered as favorites the last three times. So you've got to keep riding them for me.
Yeah, fair enough. You're probably going to be right. I am going to disagree and go with the Dolphins just because it's just feels like
Hmm.
that loss to the Cardinals last week will be gutting for the Dolphins because they should have really won that game. And it's a divisional game, so I feel like they might have the measure of the Bills a little bit more. Just listening to Tom Brady talk on a broadcast about the Bills a couple of weeks ago, just his intimate knowledge of that team just really hit home to me. When you're in a division with three other teams, you really get to know their ins and outs, their
Yeah.
tendencies, their play callers. So I just think that's enough to keep this close. I definitely aren't. I'm not picking the Dolphins to win, but I'll just say
Yeah.
maybe they cover here.
No, you're right. It's a big spread for a divisional game for sure. I I think I usually would side with them, but yeah,
No,
let's see. First
yeah,
disagreement.
yeah. I'm on the fence, and because we haven't
Yeah,
disagreed, I thought, sod it, let's go for it.
yeah.
Commanders at Giants. Well, this will be a massive line again, won't it?
It's not as big as I
Oh,
thought.
ooh,
No.
hello, hello. Interesting.
Um. Oh yeah, you to pick. Sorry.
Need to go first. Yeah, well, obviously they got in a bit of a slugfest with the Bears, the Commanders. The Bears, I think, have a slightly better defense than the Giants, although the Giants' defense is handy. Um, but the Commanders have been excellent on defense this year, which I really didn't see coming. Obviously, Dan Quinn will get that defense going eventually, but in year one, I thought that was a tough task given their personnel. But they've done well. I'm quite happy to take the Commanders here. I've been riding Jaden Daniels in fantasy football. Another week removed from that rib injury. I just think,
Hmm.
I just think, yeah, roll the Commanders here. And I don't think the Commanders will win the NFC East. I think eventually the Eagles will pull away, but for right now, they're the best team in the East, the Commanders, and I think it shows here. And as I said to you in the week, Brian Daboll on the sideline for the New York Giants looks haunted. He looks like a broken man. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm taking Commanders here.
Yeah, I'm going to differ. Actually, I did watch that game, most of it against the Steelers. As I said to you, I thought the Giants were hard done by in some of those calls.
Yeah,
I thought the Giants could have won that game for sure. And they might feel robbed. So I'm going to take them as a 4 point home underdog in a divisional game. Just my logic on that is just from what we've seen in the past in these divisional games. They know the Commanders well. The Commanders probably won't be stupid enough to drop back and pass. So the Giants are going to have to shore up their run defense a little. Najee Harris had quite a good time with them, but I do think just the points here maybe on the side of the Giants. The offense looked functional at least in that last game.
yeah, they've added a wrinkle running Daniel Jones as much as they have this year, and you'll get a lot of light fronts from the Commanders being a Dan Quinn defense. So I guess that will be their plan: just run into the teeth of it. I hope they can
Yeah,
keep the game close. No, I think that's a fair enough call there. Wow,
oh,
this
well,
isn't
we've had
this.
some disagreements.
Yeah, finally. This one is a bit of a toilet bowl affair. Probably
Oh,
the probably
goodness.
the only interest will be just to uh, just to keep watching the development of Drake May. I've been pleasantly surprised. I He was my number two quarterback coming out, but I did acknowledge that year one it would be very tough for him. But he's played well. He's
Yeah.
played very well. Um, they're a 3.5 point home favorites though. Goodness me. Sorry, road favorite. I mean, and is he going to play this week? Because didn't he get a concussion
So
last week?
there are the Pats are the underdog away.
Are they?
They're the away underdog. Yeah. Tennessee are a three
That
and a
must
half
be.
point favorite.
Yeah. So Brissett must be playing then for the
Oh,
Patriots. He must be. He must be.
let's
Let's have this right. Otherwise, we're going to make a mistake here.
he, yeah, he's in concussion
Protocol still.
protocol. So I mean, they haven't ruled him out. So maybe we pick it on the day this one, but
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'd be tempted to take the Patriots either way because I can't trust the Titans to cover 3.5 at home. Um,
No.
I'm going to start with the Titans. Sorry, the Patriots, and then we can see if that line comes in, maybe
Well, you'll be
switch it.
sta
But
you'll be staying on the Patriots, surely, either
yeah,
way. Because if May comes back, they're more likely to win
yeah, true.
big. Not big, but win by more than 3.5 points. Um, I really don't have a feel for this Titans team. They're playing well on defense, but
Mm,
I just haven't seen a lot of them, to be honest. Uh, I've not watched any of their games in full, and they just don't get featured on Red Zone because they're terrible and they don't score any points. So you just never really see them play on offense. So um, I don't have a good feel with them. I've seen a lot more of the Patriots. That offense is they seem to be opening the playbook up a little bit more for May. So if May is
mm,
playing, I'm going to take a handy Patriots cover. But I'm going to agree with you. I think Brisket can get it done for the Patriots too.
yeah.
Right. So we're at the stage now where I have to scroll the ticker along. Oh, well, let's do Bears at cards first, and then we'll come back to the Eagles game.
I was literally thinking, let's get this one out of the way quickly. This one, because there's some nice games actually in the late slate. We probably want to talk about a bit more. I was just looking. Um,
Arizona
Wolverhampton
1 point
minus
favorites.
one. I'm going to take the Bears here to come in and beat the Cards. They've shown they're a decent enough road team. I think they're probably on their way to a wild card spot. So I just think I can't trust the Cards week to week, and it's too close to call. So my money's just going to be on the Bears to outduel the Cards here in a close one.
Ah, not so fast, Tom. The the coach coming out, Eberflus coming out after that Hail Mary win for the Commanders, calling his players out. The players responding in public, calling the coaches out. I
Ah, I didn't
player
know that.
player only meeting with the offensive coordinator a couple of weeks ago to talk about changing the style of the offense. It all is not well in Chicago for me.
Yeah,
Um,
well, I assume Eberflus will be gone at some point.
yes, yeah,
That's just a
we'd have said
truth.
that, but we'd have said that before the season. They'll get an offensive guru in to work with Williams next year,
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
classic Bears fashion, doing it a year too late. Um, the Cardinals are a scrappy football team. I rode them last season. I've ridden them this season. They surprised me last week. I went away from them last week, which was a mistake. Kyler Murray is leading a is leading quite a fun offense this season. They've got Harrison going, so I'm going to take the Cards at home. They just feel like a better football team at the moment, all around than the Bears
Yeah, yeah,
for me. So that's my take. There you go.
that's good. Yeah, you got to ride your teams.
Yeah. Um,
Well, here you go. You get to pick
well, this is
your
my thinking. This is my
boom.
thinking. The Doug Peterson Bowl.
Mm.
Um, at the link, massive line, I'm sure. Yeah, 7.5.
Does make you think a bit this line.
Yeah. No, I'm going to take the Birds here.
Yeah,
That offense really clicking now for the Eagles. It was only 1 week, to be fair, against a poor Bengals defense, so maybe I shouldn't be as high as I am. But signs of life for sure. And this Jaguars defense, honestly, is one of the worst that I've seen this season.
mm.
And I just think with Cooper DeJean coming in to play as that nickel third safety, um, we've got real versatility and flexibility now on the defensive back end, which we haven't had for years, where we can move Slay around a little bit, leave Mitchell on the outside. So it's quite an interesting defense, albeit the pass rush isn't stellar this year for the Eagles. But I'm still going to say the Eagles probably dismantle the Jags here a little bit. I just think we're starting to roll a little bit now. It looked a little bit more like it did 2 years ago for the Eagles last week. So I'm going to try and take the Birds big here.
Mm. That's tough. I think I'm gonna side with you because it seems like this year there have been some huge blowouts, and
Yes.
some teams just don't turn up, and maybe some of these spreads aren't even high enough. I think that back to that Panthers one earlier we saw. Like I'm not sure why. I know the NFL is historically close, but some of these should be bigger. So I'm going to take the Birds with you to cover. I don't think it's enough points. for the Jags to hang with them. As I can't see the Jags defense getting many stops at all here. This is going to be a real concern for them. So yeah, I'll side with you.
I think it could be a very similar start to last week, where it's 14 apiece halfway through the
Yeah,
second quarter, but then we will score 30, I think, and the Jags just won't. Uh, so if it's 30 to 21, then that's we cover. So
yeah, for sure.
um, go Birds. Right, Rams,
Superb.
Rams at Seahawks.
Ooh, yeah.
God, the Rams will be
This is
big favorites.
nice.
Oh
This is
no,
nice.
1 point.
Yeah, nice for me to pick this one first because I've been off this Seahawks bandwagon for a while. It's doing me quite nicely, Mike. I'm gobbling up these spreads betting against the Seahawks these days. So I'm going to keep that going because I was very impressed with that Rams offense last week. I think they're a bit too much for the Seahawks defense, and as I said, Lumen Field hasn't impressed me too much either this year. So I'd expect the Rams to maybe get a little run here in terms of wins and start stacking these a little bit. So yeah, I think it's of course it'll be a close game, but I'm gonna take the Rams here to get this done.
No, I meant to commend you on that last week. You were calling out the crowd at Lumen Field, and it actually came up on
Yeah.
the broadcast.
Oh, nice.
The commentators were saying it's full of Bills Mafia this week. And
Yeah,
it was last week against the Niners, is what they were saying on the broadcast. It was just
yeah,
amazing to me how the things have changed there in Seattle just a few years after that amazing run that they had. Um, Obviously, the Rams won't bring many fans with them, but they will bring Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua, which probably is too much for the Seahawks to match up with.
yeah.
And the Rams just feel like they're getting momentum for me now. They feel like they're creeping up. They could definitely. I think the Rams might win the NFC West if they can keep everybody healthy.
Yeah,
The Niners are sliding, the Seahawks are sliding, the Cardinals just aren't as good as the Rams. So yeah, I'm gonna get on this anti-Seahawks bandwagon with you actually, and I'm gonna pick the Rams here
nice.
too. Full house there.
Yeah,
Uh, what a good one. The
this
game of
is
the week,
quality.
probably one of the
Yeah,
games of the season so far. This is stellar. I assume Jordan Love is healthy to play.
I think so. I haven't heard otherwise.
Did exit that, or 10 minutes left. Did exit that game early last week
Hmm.
um, because got banged up on that knee again, I think. But yeah, the Lions are a 2.5 point road favorite in Lambeau.
Ooh,
Um, I'm going to take the pack here, and
okay.
the Lions are on fire. They're a good team, but they got a very narrow win against the Vikings, and obviously they beat up a terrible Tennessee team last week. Um, I just think they might be. I might be reading their own press clippings a little bit here, the Lions. And it's a really tough place to go. Love is going to play, whether he's fully fit or not is another thing, but he's going to play. And I just don't think you win. You don't win 16, 17 games in a season. They're going to drop 3 or 4 games, and it just seems at a good Packers team just feels like one to drop. If you're the Lions and not be too worried about it. So yeah, I'm going to take the pack here.
Yeah, I'm seeing if there's anything in the tea leaves here. I'm just having a look at some past spreads here to see what the Lions have been doing. Started covering a few times as favorites.
Missing your
Obviously,
missing your T there in Ohio.
I know. The yeah the they beat. This is tough. I'm going to differ here just to make this one interesting because I think we're both going to have some interest in this game. So it'll be fun to have a differ. It's under a field goal as well, so I just need them to come out there and doink one over to win. The offense looks very good, so I'd expect them to mitigate some of the Packers pass rush ability here with some of that quick game they're so good at and get the ball in the hands of people. So I think for that reason they match up well. Love, like you said, exited. Looking at the reports, he said he's going to play, but it doesn't seem a concrete in terms of his health. So yeah, I'm going to differ. Let's make this one quite interesting.
Okay, nice. I will say the Packers defense is going to have to play better than they played all season for me to be right there. So maybe
Yeah,
a slight gamble from me. Well, at the start of the season, I'd have been quite excited for this game, but the Anthony Richardson experiment has just come off the rails here. Flacco going to start in this one after he tapped himself out because he was tired in the last game. My goodness,
Oh,
Minnesota are 5.5 point favorites. What do you think, Tom?
um, I'm looking forward to it. Maybe a bit more than you are, just because so many Sunday games have been very, very drab, and I think this might have a bit more fireworks in it. Because I quite enjoy watching these teams play. I'm going to take the Vikings to win here by a touchdown. I like that at home. First primetime game this year for the Vikings. It's a fool's errand to bet against them in a primetime game at home. It's just can't do it. There's too much of a home atmosphere there. As we see that TJ Hawkinson's return. Maybe not the best tight end we've ever seen, but it does help add some balance to them. They can get in some more heavy sets there. So yeah, I think all that considered, I think it's more about the Vikings defense here and how they can slow down Indianapolis. And if Flacco comes out and plays well, it'll be fun. But yeah, I'll wait till that to happen so I can bet on the Colts.
Before you crown his ass, you're gonna wait and see. Um,
Exactly.
I'm going to take the Vikings here too. Uh, just talking about Denny Green, I feel like I should take the Vikings here. Um, they're lost two in a row. I just feel like they're a better football team than that. They're just certainly a better football team than the Colts, and something to keep an eye on from an X's and O's point of view is the Shane Steichen offense, though effective with a scrambling quarterback, mobile quarterback. They always had deficiencies, and this carried over into the Eagles after he left. Is deficiencies against the blitz, against hot answers, get the ball out of Flacco's hand quickly. That's not normally their game. They normally like to hold it, throw it down the field, and the Vikings will eat you up if you do that. They're going to have cover too high and zero answers all day here, the Colts. So against some of those blitzes, so we'll see. But I think I think the Vikings might win by a touchdown too, which will obviously give us the cover.
Yeah.
Well, when was this Super Bowl, Tom? Tampa versus it
It was the
seems like
COVID year, 2021.
seems
Yeah.
like a long time ago. Yeah, COVID year, 2021.
Really
So
does. Yeah.
three years ago now, this Super Bowl was, and it was a classic. Uh,
Yeah.
this game, I'm a bit sad this game wasn't played 3 weeks ago because it would have been quite a stellar matchup. But as it is, the Buccaneers are just really hurting now with injuries. Godwin and Evans both down. Mayfield turning the ball over at a much higher rate than he was at the beginning of the season. And the Chiefs just look rock steady, don't they? Um,
Yeah. There is a
but
big line though. This is my concern.
but
Uh,
yes. So last week I said, watch out, the Chiefs might lose here against the Raiders. Obviously, I was proved completely incorrect. However, the
they
Chiefs,
covered.
the Chiefs didn't cover last week. And I
Yeah.
just don't know what anybody can have seen this season to make them think the Chiefs are going to blow the Buccaneers out of the water.
Mm.
I think the Chiefs are going to win the game, but I don't think they're going to win it by 9+ points. So give me the Bucks here.
Mm. Disagree. I worry about Baker Mayfield going up against Spags here in his current form. That is, if you're a Bucks fan, that has to be a concern for you. Without your weapons as well, I think Spags could have a field day here and just start disguising stuff that he does and bringing rushes from the blind side and just totally taking Baker off his keel here a little bit. Kelsey got going last week, got his first touchdown of the year. Maybe that doesn't influence the spread, but it does look good, and I think the more reps D Hop gets, it's going to look good. So I'm going to take the Chiefs this week. I feel like I've had a good feel for them this year. Picked the Raiders last week to cover, but I don't think the Bucks in Arrowhead on a Monday night have much hope at all here, Mike.
No, fair enough. I mean, I was a little bit. I think some of this boost in the lines for the Chiefs is because they signed Hopkins.
Yeah,
As I
yeah,
said last week, I just don't that veteran receiver in the middle of the season. There just isn't too much precedent for that to come in and
no,
really change anyone's fortunes. And So I just don't think at the moment the Chiefs, once they get a few receivers back healthy, um, I think they could start blowing some teams out. But yeah, I just think a little bit closer than that. But we'll see. Obviously,
Yeah.
time will tell.
It's a big spread. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
that's it.
No,
We rattled through those, fairly rattled through them.
Spencer rattled through them.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's probably all we have for this week. I'll be
Right.
at Manchester United versus Chelsea on Sunday. If we had a spread on that, I think United would be 2-goal underdogs. So we'll be looking for a miracle there. But yeah, until then, yeah, we'll see you when we see you.
Excellent. Have fun with it, Mike. And
Oh, thank you.
go well.
Go well. And yeah, you're gonna have to edit all this out as per usual. I can't. I can never